Welcome to week 5 of Mindshift Mondays, our final and free mental awareness and art education workshop for everyone. This is a collaboration between the Gray Matter Museum of Art in Newport Beach and the Institute of Neuroinnovation based in Santa Monica. Both nonprofits, GMMA and I&I, joined forces to educate us on how art improves our mental health. National Mental Awareness Month focuses on bringing tools, resources, and education to everyone. May is a time to raise awareness of those living with mental or behavioral health issues and help reduce the stigma so many people experience. While we focus on our physical well-being, we often forget to take stock of our mental and emotional needs. It's an ongoing daily process to achieve optimal mental health. Moving on to our final I&I board member and board-certified radiation oncologist, Dr. Randy Sharlock. Dr. Sharlock graduated from the UCLA School of Medicine and completed his residency at Yale University, where he served as chief resident. Dr. Sharlock's areas of expertise include prostate, breast, lung, and head-neck cancers, as well as ketamine-assisted therapy. Dr. Sharlock, thank you so much for joining us for Mindshift Mondays. This is our 5th and final workshop, and I know from our previous discussions that you are very involved in taking care of people's mental health. But for people who are being introduced to you for the first time, let's start first with your background.
Background, all right. I was born right down the street here in Santa Monica. I grew up in Pasadena, went to college back east, med school out here at UCLA, back in Connecticut for residency in radiation oncology, and I've been a practicing radiation oncologist for over 20 years now, which is how I met Dr. Vokshar. We treat cancer patients together.
Okay, so then how did you want to get involved in I&I?
Dr. Vokshar and I participate together treating patients with brain tumors using a procedure called radiosurgery, and it's a joint process between radiation oncology, which is my field, and neurosurgery, which is his field. And during the downtime, while the case is getting prepared, we have had really extensive conversations about really interesting stuff. Predominantly, what is the source of consciousness? Like, why do I see yellow when I look at something yellow? Why do I taste something when I put it in my mouth? We know a lot about the chemistry, about how all that happens, but we have no idea scientifically how that final poof of our human experience comes into being. And my interest in that work is what led him ask me to join the I&I board so I could bring some of that curiosity into his organization.
Well, I remember when I first met you, and I was like really drawn to Dr. Sharlock, and I felt like maybe I'm a little bit of a stalker, but I was kind of like following you around the room, and I'm like, where's he gonna eat lunch? Because I have to sit next to him. Because I was so
I didn't know.
Fascinated. There was something there where I was like, I'm just gonna stalk him because I wanna talk to him about higher consciousness, and we're gonna have this great conversation during lunch. And it did happen that you were just sitting there and no one was sitting next to him. So of course I just sat next to you. But we're sitting in this beautiful location. This is called Field Trip. And what are some of the treatments that you offer here?
So what I didn't add about my background is that in addition to practicing radiation oncology, in 2018 I went back to school and I became officially certified as a psychedelic medicine therapist. And we are in the Field Trip Clinic here in Santa Monica, and we are offering psychotherapy that is jump-started by the use of psychedelic medicines that are administered during the psychotherapy session. And basically what the psychedelic medicines do is they remove the barrier that hides thoughts and memories from our conscious awareness. Basically things that get stuffed down into our subconscious that wouldn't ever come out even after years of lying on a psychotherapist's couch for an hour a week. Things that don't come out during normal waking consciousness can come to the forefront of your awareness when you're on a psychedelic medicine. So the use of these medicines during a psychotherapy session can profoundly expedite the process of therapy, and it basically allows a person to pull up repressed memories and deal with them and formulate a new relationship with traumatic memories, so that when they go back into your memory, they're no longer stored as trauma, but it's just something in your past that you've gotten over.
I am completely fascinated right now about psychedelics. I think it's taken me years to get there, but after speaking to you and speaking to Ekta Agarwal, I think your experiences have made me become a lot more open-minded. And that's also one of the reasons why I want to get involved in all these mental health awareness workshops, is because I don't want to be closed-minded about things. I want to understand that there are many methods of healing. In our workshop, we're collaborating with INI and with the Gray Matter Museum of Art. And I wanted to know, what value do you think art brings into our lives?
Before I answer that, I want to go back, because you said something really important. You said you want to be open-minded, or don't want to be closed-minded. The author Michael Pollan wrote a book that was published in 2018, and it was about psychedelic therapy. Half the book was the history of this field, but the other half was his own personal experiences going through psychedelic work. And the title of his book is How to Change Your Mind. And the purpose of that title is to convey to somebody that these psychedelic medicines really can open your mind up to seeing the world from a different lens. But it's a double entendre, because the other meaning of the book is how to change your mind about psychedelic medicines. Because Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan told us that these are bad medicines, they're dangerous, but they're not. They're safe, they're effective, they're non-addictive. And when our culture can kind of change its perception about these medicines and not be so closed-minded about them, we're going to see a fundamental shift in the consciousness of everyone who's able to use these medicines. Now, back to your question about art. It's funny that you're asking this, because I've actually spent a lot of time lately thinking about this very question. What is art? What's the purpose of it? And what I've realized, it wasn't my own realization. I actually came across wisdom that's thousands of years old, but most people don't pay attention to it. It's that science is a method for us to describe things, the way they appear, the way they interact with each other, the way they work when you open them up, and the process of reductionism, going smaller and smaller and smaller and looking for the smallest parts of how things work. That's what science tells us. But science can't tell us anything about the human experience. Like when I was talking earlier about the color yellow or the taste of tea, there isn't a single scientific formula that can describe yellow. We can describe scientifically the nature and the physics of yellow light, but it doesn't tell us anything at all about what I experience when I see yellow. And that is what art does. Art is a medium to communicate inner human experience, because words can't do it. You can't describe yellow to a blind person. And in that lack of vocabulary that we have to describe subjective experiences gets translated into artistic energy.
So why do we feel that need to quantify art so much, and how it affects our brain and how it improves brain function? Why is that so important, and why don't we just focus on how art makes us feel?
Well, I think that we should. You know, the challenge that we have in our culture is that we are a results-oriented culture. And in order to quantify results, like in science, you have to have objective data where you measure it. And it has to be verifiable, where other people make a measurement and come up with the same results. And then you publish that. That's what science is. But there's no way to quantify a subjective experience. Mm-hmm. And so some of why we're trying to evaluate art in these objective terms is simply to fit what is subjective into an objective paradigm. But it's like trying to put a round peg in a square hole. It doesn't work.
So how have psychedelics changed your life?
How long do you have? It's been profound. The word profound underscores the benefit that this class of medical therapy has had upon my life. About 10 or 12 years ago, I suffered from a really significant depression. And I participated in a ceremony that wasn't very meaningful to me in the moment. But when I woke up the next day, my depression was completely gone. I was cured.
Just from one session?
From one session. And I was on, I think, 4 different psych medicines, and I stopped them all cold turkey without any rebound. I was completely fine. And I called my doctors. I was like, thank you for your care. I don't need you anymore. I'm all cured. And I told them what I had done, and they were aghast. They said, that's crazy. It's the reason you're fine is because our medicines are finally starting to work. And I absolutely knew in my heart of hearts that it had nothing to do with the Western drugs that I was on, that a natural medicine cured me of depression.
And has it lasted?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. It's 12 years later, and I'm fine. But that was only the first gift that the medicine gave me. When I went deeper down the rabbit hole and began more dedicated work, I also learned some things about the nature of reality and the universe that completely changed my perspective about who I am as a human being. And it was really like getting the gift of a superpower. And what I mean by that, I'm borrowing terminology from an author and philosopher by the name of Sam Harris. Sam Harris was a student of Zen Dzogchen in Tibet, and he has brought back to an American audience some of the lessons of that Dzogchen teaching. And one of the main lessons is that your entire concept of who you are as a self is actually a type of illusion. And most of your suffering, and my suffering, all suffering from humans, comes from that illusion. And when a person can overcome the illusion and get a much clearer sense of what you're referring to, what part of you mean when you use the first person singular pronoun, when you say I, probably right now you don't really have a sense of what it is that you're referring to. You see yourself as a whole being. And we are a whole from one perspective, but that whole is actually a lot of small parts put together. And psychedelic medicine work helps you distinguish all those parts so that you can know the true I from all these illusory parts. And when you have that knowledge of separation, things that used to be traumatic or offensive or hurt your feelings, those just melt, those problems melt away because you say, I'm not upset. You say, I'm noticing that part of me, or there's some upsetness inside of me, and you can kind of separate your I from the emotion. And having that ability really is like a superpower because it kind of makes you immune from all the angst that we feel as humans.
I feel like my best healing has come every time I am objective and not feeling subjective. So when I separate myself from the self, and I can look at myself as an outside spiritual being and view myself as a spiritual force and energy, I feel like a lot of the things that happen in day-to-day life don't really affect me so much.
That's exactly the gift, yeah, exactly. And when you're triggered by something, it's so hard to like step back and give yourself that arm's length perspective because you're caught up in being upset or angry or jealous or whatever it is, or victimized. But you always have within you that ability to get that arm's length perspective and go, oh, it doesn't really need to affect me the way I'm feeling that it does.
Yeah, and I always think of it as like small stuff, not gonna worry about it.
Exactly.
Traffic in LA, not gonna worry about it.
Exactly.
Those kinds of things, I don't want them to affect me.
Right.
Personally.
And because when you hold on to that, it's just negative energy that brings the whole rest of your life down.
Exactly.
And if you can just kind of push that away and stay in the peace that is your true nature, everything's fine.
And we don't know how long we're going to have this human experience, so we might as well enjoy it, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you, Dr. Sharlock. You gave me a lot of insight, as always. And thank you so much for participating in Mindshift Mondays.
You're very welcome.
Namaste. Thanks, Dr. Sharlock, for sharing your deeply personal story and for giving us your perspectives on mental health. I feel very lucky to get to spend the day in this beautiful and peaceful location. This is the Gray Matter Museum of Art, dedicated to educating and opening the imagination of all ages about California's coastal region through art. The museum embraces local artists and their need to share their works. Tonight we're featuring Suhei. She's a celebrated floral designer and founder of Suhei's Petals and Leaves. Suhei has created floral arrangements and bouquets for people from around the world, including Pink, Seal, Jessica Simpson, and Gwen Stefani. Suhei shares her journey and how flowers help her and others improve their mental health.
I get to spend time with Suhei from Suhei Petals. I absolutely love your name, and I love that you go by the one name like I do.
Thank you so much. Yes, I actually do love my name as well. And when I named my company, I had various ideas, and it just resonated very well. You know, Suhei's Petals, and it sort of made sense with what I do.
Do you know the meaning of Suhei?
Well, I did a little research about it, but I do remember when I was a kid asking my father the meaning of my name because it was so different than my brother and sister's name. And funny enough, he told me it meant the awakening of flowers, which...
You're kidding.
Who would have thought, you know, that I was going to end up being a floral artist? And that was the meaning of my name, according to my father. Maybe he made it up, I'm not sure, but I like it.
Well, even if he made it up, he set you in that direction, right?
Yes.
So when you were a kid, did you love flowers?
I grew up in a city that they call it the City of Eternal Spring. And it's in the south of Mexico. It's called Cuernavaca, and there's beautiful vegetation and flowers everywhere. And my mother and my grandmother were very fond of flowers. My mother had a small garden, you know, and she would grow flowers. I remember roses, gardenias, and I remember the beautiful aromas. So I do have that as in my childhood as a reference of what I do now. Yeah.
Okay, so how do you go from loving flowers as a kid and then to becoming a florist?
Well, it happened to me very unexpected. I was going to college studying graphic design, and I took a part-time job at the Four Seasons Hotel in Beverly Hills, and there was at a flower shop. And I used to write their invoices, you know, proposals for weddings, and it was just a part-time job. But there was an amazing designer working there, and I entered a world that it was fascinating to me, you know, and I was very inspired by it. So I asked if I could help or if I could learn with flowers, and that's how everything started for me. And they were kind enough to teach me about flowers, and I was just so interested that it was very natural for me to work with them, and that's how everything started right there.
Well, what a great place to start. Four Seasons always has like the most beautiful bouquets.
Lobby entrances.
Exactly.
Yeah, lobby arrangements for their entrance. So yeah, that's how I started.
So you do like traditional flowers, like something like this, and what do we have in a vase here?
Correct. This is a glass cylinder, very, very clean, and we have roses, garden roses, ranunculus, lisianthus, and a variation of greenery. So yes, this is a very traditional design that could be used for various occasions, or for a wedding, for instance, or just at a restaurant. But truly, my passion is modern design. I love to create things that are out of the ordinary, using different elements from nature, and even props, that I can incorporate in my design. Yeah.
Well, you have amazing energy and you seem very positive. Does any of this have to do with just being around flowers and nature?
Absolutely. They definitely bring a great satisfaction into my life. It's so joyful to be around flowers and just be able to create pieces with color. And I mean, if that doesn't bring joy to people, I don't know what will, because I feel that it's such a beautiful way to say so many things. When somebody receives flowers, I feel that immediately it brings some joy, into their lives. So that's another thing that's very satisfying for me, designing designing arrangements that people are going to be happy about, or they're going to be a conversation piece at a dinner reception or at a wedding or any occasion. I think flowers do bring a lot of joy, not just for me, but I feel for everyone,
So we're talking about mental health awareness.
Correct.
In the month of May, and I know that you're about to start your workshop right now with Teresa.
Yes.
What have you done so far to help people with any kind of mental health issues?
Well, I was part of a nonprofit organization called Art Active LA. So for 2 years, I taught workshops for high school students that were like troubled students that drop out of high school and they didn't have interest in life to becoming someone, or truly they just didn't know what direction to take in their lives. So they created a community center for them, and I came in teaching flower design for them. And it was, boys and girls, and of course the ones that love flowers were females, but there was a few boys that were very interested on flowers. And I think that when they saw how expand the world of flowers could be and what you can do with them, some of them became very interested. So that was a very good project for me to be part of, because it felt like I was contributing into something that could help or change somebody's life. And so it consisted of 5 workshops. And I thought, of course, like introduction to design and different techniques. And I also thought how you can create themes, with flowers. Like if you like fashion, for instance, you can design something according with that theme, or a Moroccan party, or, and it's really fun to do all of that. So a lot of the students were very, I could tell it had an influence towards them. And for me to see that, it was just amazing, because it was different than what I usually do. Yeah.
Do you also do like themed weddings or things like that?
Yes, absolutely. There's clients that, come to me and they already have an idea of what they like, and I just help them develop that idea. For instance, it could be, a theme from the 1930s. So we create that look, old world, or incorporating elements that would bring that design into life for a wedding. So it's really fun, and that's sort of what I love. I love to be able to develop themes for any occasion, and it's fascinating what you can do with flowers. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you've worked on hundreds and hundreds of events, but I also know that you've done a couple of celebrity weddings as well.
Yes, when I started my career, after being at the Four Seasons, I went to an amazing company, Mark's Garden. They're still there, and I met some of the amazing designers where I learned so much from them. And they did a lot of celebrity weddings. So I did get to do not only one or two, but more than 10 or more, you know. And one of them was Pink's wedding, which was really fun. It took place in Costa Rica, so we got the opportunity to travel. And I met a lot of people, like Elizabeth Taylor was still alive, so we did her flowers. She loved garden with roses. That was her thing. And who else? Seal. We did his birthday party. Jessica Simpson, we did her wedding. I remember she had this gorgeous bouquet that it took, I think, about 5 people to put it together.
Wow.
Because there's a lot of preparation when you do a bouquet like that. It was stephanotis, and stephanotis are a very small, delicate flower that from the beginning of when you get them, you have to treat them, you know, and wire them. So it was a lot of them. And I put the bouquet together, but with the help with other designers. And it was just beautiful to be part of something like that, yeah.
You mentioned an exotic flower. Are there any exotic flowers that people really want to get and they're just really difficult to get, or they're from a different country or continent?
Yes, there's a few of those. One of them, or one that I can mention, is called Lady Slipper, and it's an orchid. Another one is calla lily. They're amazingly beautiful. They're almost black, but it's more of an aubergine color. And they're just very exotic, and they import them from Kenya, Africa. So they're definitely exclusive, you know, very pricey as well. I mean, there's so many of them that I love to work with because they create a certain look, you know, that is exotic and different. And sometimes you don't even use to or need to use so many of them. You can create a beautiful design with that particular flower using 3 of them because they bend, they twist, and the stem is a lime green color. So that itself, it's already very artistic, you know? Yeah.
So who are your influences?
As floral designers, well, in Mark's Garden, one of my favorite designers, his name is Johnny Ryan, and we're still friends, and we had collaborated in certain work together, and we worked together for different companies, and he's one of the most amazing designers that I know. He's just extremely creative. He's one of them. Jeff Lethen, who is the one that worked at the Four Seasons as the head designer. He was my first inspiration as a floral artist. He was just so much fun, you know, he had so much fun creating pieces for the hotel. I thought to myself, I want to do that. That looks great, you know, this is something that I can live with. And he just made it seem flawless and that it didn't seem like work. It seemed like you were just having fun creating pieces for a hotel or for a party. So I was very interested on that. So he's one of my influences. And there's this other lady that I love dearly. Her name is Cindy Smith. She actually wrote a book that I participated on as well. She gave me the opportunity to be part of. She had different designs throughout the book, and she taught me so much. And her background, she was an art teacher. So as I said, you know, it's very relative when it comes to arts and floral design. I feel that not everybody knows how or the things that you can do with flowers. You know, you can really transform a place. You can do any sort of design, a modern, traditional. Right now, what's very in trend, they call it shabby chic modern, which they're using a lot of dry elements, which is dry flowers. Mm-hmm. And it's a very, for me, it's sort of like a very bohemian look, you know, that works well for events. I find it great for like boutiques, you know, because you don't have to change them all the time. So it's very convenient to have a piece like that at a store, at a boutique, or even at a hotel. So yeah, there's so many styles that you can do with flowers. Yeah.
And where do you want to take your floral designs?
I think that it takes me, I feel that it's been a journey and I'm just going along with it. But I want to be one of my dreams is to put together an art exhibition with flowers. I mean, that's something that I would love to do, because I feel that it does have a space in the art world. And you can exhibit flowers as art more than a piece or a floral arrangement for a table or a centerpiece. Yeah, I done work in which I use, frames and incorporate bottles in it, and just that's something you can hang on your wall, And I feel that that's something I would love to do. Yeah.
So for the past, I would say, almost a year and a half now, it has been really tough for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Because they've been isolated.
Yes.
And they've had all these struggles during the pandemic.
Yes.
What would you say to people right now to help them alleviate some symptoms of maybe anxiety or stress or depression?
Oh, well, I would say to experience new ways of creativity. It doesn't even have to do flowers. It could be anything, I feel that through arts you can find, as I mentioned before, joy or a way of dealing with your emotions, For me, for example, during the pandemic, it was very difficult because I'm used to being a creative person on a daily basis, and I miss flowers so much. But what I did is I thought of something that I could do at home. So I created what I call bundle of wellness, and it was literally bundles that you can burn like incense, and I was able to do that at home. And it's something that I had never done, but I thought, well, this is an opportunity for me because I have the time to do so. I literally couldn't stay still at home. I had to be creative, and I got the opportunity to do other things like catch up on my reading and all of that. But it really helped me to cope, during those hard times. And as I said, creativity can be used in so many forms for each individual. For me, was creating something. I also did a challenge where my fellow artists created, where we had to design a tablescape with what we had at home. So that was really fun.
What did you make?
I made a Mexican theme party.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah, because I thought about what I had. I don't have a lot of inventory at home. And that was one of the rules, that you had to use what you have at home. And, I used what I have at home, and I did collected some items from around my neighborhood, like palm leaves and some bougainvillea. And we were able to do that, just to add a little, but we couldn't buy any product like flowers or anything because that would not make sense, right?
Right.
So I did that. I even created a wall piece with the dry leaves and some bougainvillea, and everybody did amazing. And you could tell how people that are artistic, it's almost like a regular thing or a necessary thing to do in life, like food or water. You have to stay creative, and yeah.
Well, we definitely have to take you around the Gray Matter Museum, and you'll have to tell us like how you put the different flowers together. Does that sound good?
Absolutely, it'll be my pleasure.
Okay, we'll do that before we start your workshop.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. We have a beautiful, beautiful arrangement here in a glass cylinder base, which is amazing for different things. You can use it as a centerpiece for a wedding or simply to have it at your house and enjoy. The flowers that I use here are tulips, hydrangeas, beautiful ranunculus, and they're all in season right now. Spring is like the best season for flowers. You can find absolutely everything and different flowers from all over the world, really. Like these roses are from Ecuador, imported from Ecuador. We also have lisianthus, different textures like Italian rascas. We have lemon leaf, amaranthus, which is such a unique texture because it gives that draping feel and it creates a beautiful flow with this arrangement. And as I said, it could be used for different occasions. Now we have something a little more funky and interesting. This is a piece of driftwood. Literally, I just placed this air plant, and it's called air plants because you don't need to water it. They live out of moist and air. So it's very easy to have at home or to decorate a beautiful space like the museum or a boutique. They're great for decor, and I would consider this a very modern design, which I particularly love because it sort of creates a statement in any space. So now we have one of my favorites, which is a tall cylinder, creating a version as the low piece, but in a tall version, of course. And again, we have amaranthus. We give it that texture, beautiful feeling and flowing with Italian rascas, hydrangeas, delphiniums, curly willow, which is that tall branch that you saw out there. And the curly willow actually looks nice inside the base as well. So it's a great piece for a museum or the entrance of a hotel, or even to have it at your house and enjoy flowers.
Suhei, thanks for sharing your stories and your positive energy. This week's workshop is Art and Nature. In the article, Art Does Heal, researchers from California University in Berkeley show studies where art and nature boost the immune system by lowering levels of chemicals that cause inflammation. This inflammation can trigger illnesses such as diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's, anxiety, and depression. In 2 separate experiments on a given day, more than 200 young adults reported the extent to which they had experienced positive emotions like love, joy, compassion, wonder, contentment, awe, and pride. According to scientists, art heals. The practice of expressing emotions through art can help our brain process our thoughts better, and viewing art can help fight off disease and evoke positive feelings that overall benefit mental health. Let's start our final art workshop with Suhei and the GMMA Director of Development, Teresa Morris.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 5 of Mindshift Mondays. I am here tonight with Suhei Ribolar. Welcome, Suhei. I'm very excited to have the chance to talk with you.
Hi, Teresa. Thank you.
Thank you
for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Suhei is a floral design artist as well as, I think, just a general artist as a person, and we are going to talk about art and nature today, which is a very just interesting combination overall. But to guide our discussion today, I wanted to talk about an article about a study that was conducted by UC Berkeley, and it correlated how art and nature can promote higher levels of cytokines, which are chemicals within the body that are necessary for herding cells to the body's battlegrounds to fight infection, disease, and trauma. So these are all good things, obviously, when we can have a link between external things in our lives and how they can benefit us on the inside. And the study really looked at how participants who experienced more awe and joy in their lives really got that from great nature and art, such as like the Grand Canyon and Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, things like that. But when you really combine the two, I think it could just heighten the level of benefit that one can get. And Suhei, you work with flowers, which are nature, and they are all around us in this springtime in California. But you really create them into art. And I think it's a very interesting combination of expression. And I was wondering if you have had any benefits from working with a natural artistic medium.
Absolutely. I can say that I have definitely found joy and happiness in what I do. Being in touch with nature in a form of art has been extraordinary for me and my life and my sense of beauty. And, I feel that when you simply smell flowers brings you joy, So on a daily basis, I do that, and it's different all the time. And I get to create designs that inspire me from the minute that I pick up the flowers, the colors. So it's definitely a it has been a wonderful experience for me. And the fact that I do it as a job, and it's amazing. And I feel that you can really express yourself creating a design with flowers without using words. And it has been very helpful for me because I consider myself an introvert. I'm not a person that likes to talk a lot or socialize a lot, but I feel that through what I do, I'm able to express my feelings for sure. Yeah.
Yes, I've seen some of your arrangements, and they are amazing. And they stand out within rooms, and they are so powerful in their existence.
Thank you.
I'm really fond of what I have seen of your arrangements. And I'm very excited that we have a few examples to look at. So I'm gonna share my screen, and we're gonna look at some of your works. So
thank you.
Let's take a look at some of these ones.
Those are really fun, which I love playing with leaves, especially tropical leaves, because they have such beautiful shapes. And they look like paintings, some of them. On those banana leaves, I thought I could incorporate some color and make it more of an art piece, which was really fun. So you can do so much with nature, and the world of flowers. It's so immense, for me at least, that I am just so happy to be able to share that with all of you. And I'm happy you like it.
Yes, it's so interesting that you take leaves and kind of turn them into your canvas.
Yes.
So where would you go to find these leaves? Where do you?
My sources?
Yeah.
Well, I usually shop at the Los Angeles Flower Mart, which they have a great variation of absolutely everything. You can find from leaves to flowers from all over the world, starting with the most common flowers, which would be roses, hydrangeas. Now they're in season, peonies. But I always try to look for things that caught my attention according to what I'm designing for each particular client. Sometimes I just go there just to look at things, to be inspired.
Right.
It's so beautiful. If everybody or anyone has an opportunity to go to any flower mart, it's so joyful, even if you don't buy absolutely anything, just to look at what nature can provide for us. It's very satisfying. Yeah.
Right. Flowers are such a beautiful part of nature, and
Yes.
they're little pieces of art themselves. So I can totally understand how even going to a market like that can spark inspiration and
Yes.
a little connectedness with nature and art, So I would love to look at a few more. So let's take.
Yeah.
another look here.
Oh, that one's really fun.
What is this?
So those are palm leaves. And a few years ago, I went to Hawaii, and the native people there taught me how to do braiding with palm leaves, which was, a privilege. So I used that technique for for this design. I had a client who wanted something that it didn't include any flowers, but she wanted, something natural, but artistic and fun. And that's what I came up with. And it was really fun. I covered a vase with like leopard fabric.
Okay.
And that's what you're looking at. And then I heavily painted each leaf with spray paint that is particularly for flowers. And it was just really fun. And it came out to be a wonderful piece. Yeah.
That is fun. I mean, the fact that you were like requested not to use flowers, and as a floral designer, you turned to leaves and made them into something bright and beautiful.
Yes.
It's versatile and refreshing to see how creative you can really get with natural materials too.
Yeah, with minimal, product. And that's one of the things that I'm very fond of. I love to be challenged, when it comes to design with flowers, because that's when my creativity awakens the most. When I don't have maybe a lot to work with, or there's a particular concept, or, a client doesn't want any flowers, but wants something colorful. So it's very inspiring. And I just love to share that with other people, because I feel we can all do that, with what we like. It doesn't matter what form of art you're dealing with, but if you are in a position where you want to be creative, I think there's infinite possibilities. Yeah.
Right. That was so well put. Like I couldn't. It's beautifully said. So,
thank you.
I would like to go back and look at some more.
Yes, of course.
See.
Oh, that one. There's sort of like a history behind that arrangement. So I, again, had a client who wanted a dozen of roses. And typically, we have our traditional dozen roses with traditionally they come in a tall vase and all this greenery and 12 roses just standing up. So I sort of wanted to deconstruct that concept and make it into a different design, still using 12 roses. And this is what I came up with. And I had some material, around me, and I thought I could play with it. And as you can see, I incorporated some tulle and some chains, and that was just really fun to do.
I love the orchids in there.
Yeah, they're beautiful. The phalaenopsis, which you find, as a cut flower and also as a plant. Yeah, and I like those dendrobiums. They look like hearts. So that was actually a Valentine's arrangement. So I thought it was very, romantic and sexy, and I just love to. When they give me freedom to create, I do very well when a client comes to me and just lets me do whatever I want, because that's when I give my best, I feel.
Yeah, that one was bold and creative at the same time. Perfect for Valentine's Day.
Yes, that's a good option for Valentine's for sure.
Cool. Let's see. Here. What?
Yeah.
Dried florals?
There's a combination of both, mostly fresh flowers, but my base, it's from if I can show you, I have something similar right now. But it's something like this. If you can see.
Oh.
It's a natural element. To be honest, I believe it's from a palm tree, but I'm not 100% sure. But that's what I use for that design. And I did incorporated fresh flowers, some dry elements, and it just came out to be a wonderful piece.
Was that piece hanging?
Yes, it was hanging.
Very cool.
Yes, it was a display that I did for a party, and it was taking place outdoors. So that was sort of like a focal point when people enter and they saw that. It's so simple, really. It's really, it's a piece of art, and I love that I can do that with different elements like what I use here. What you see across, it's called, it's just one branch. And I wrapped like raffia around it, so it gives texture and dimension. And I feel, the world of flowers it's so intricate and beautiful, and I see that in art, in paintings. And I feel it's almost important that people know what you can do with flowers, because that's how I feel. Like, I truly feel you can just create anything with them and express yourself in different ways.
Yes. I mean, clearly this is like a sculpture. It can stand on its own and serve as a focal point, like you were saying, and
Yes.
the ability to make it so intricate is
Yes.
truly amazing. So thank you for sharing all of those wonderful things. I want to mention that Suhei has all of these. First of all, Suhei's Petals is your own personal business, a floral design, right?
That is correct. I branched my own business about 2 years ago. Previous to that, I worked with some amazing floral design companies, which sometimes I still freelance for them, when they give me projects that I'm, interested on doing, or I have the time to do it. But yes, that's the business that I have right now. It's a small business, but it's all love.
Oh, that's wonderful. I would love to have my arrangements around you at all times.
Thank you.
If any of the participants feel the need to connect to Suhei, please do. She's a wonderful person, and her arrangements are beautiful. And if we can see how you make such beautiful arrangements, we would love to see your process. So,
okay, yes, let's do that. I do have a little setup for you guys, and I'm gonna do something very quickly.
Okay.
Let me just fix this a little. Is that good?
That looks good.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay, let me put this away. And I briefly will introduce you to what I have here. First of all, I have a selection of vases that everyone can play with. They're different sizes, colors. I even have a Great Matter Museum bottled water that I recycle and that you can actually use for flowers. And I have garden roses. This I cut from my garden. Peonies, which are in season. So we're gonna do something very quick in this space. I hope you can see me okay.
Yes.
All right, so as I said, these are beautiful garden roses. They're just exquisite and they smell wonderful. So we're gonna start with that. And what I'm gonna do is a concept that you can do at home if you're having a gathering and you just wanna do a table setting per se. The most easy thing to do, as you can tell, I'm cutting the flowers to the length of the container. And we're gonna do all one flower per container.
Okay.
So when you cut flowers, you need to cut them in an angle so they can drink water.
Ooh.
Maybe remove some of the leaves. These are called gar petals, which you can remove. I like how they look because they're kind of ruffly. So we're gonna fill this space with just garden roses. And one bunch will be enough for this size container. Again, I'm removing some of the leaves. So your stem goes in water without any leaves because that will create some bacteria in the water. Removing some of the gar petals. It's a little bit too tall, so I cut that. So now you have a base filled with loose roses. So that's one.
Beautiful.
The other one, let's see, let's do this one. Since this one has a little bit of height, I'm going to use my tall flowers, which are these.
Yay.
And they're fabulous.
Amazing.
Yes. So it's a very simple design, to be honest, but it will definitely create a statement on a dining table for any occasion. And I love this. I don't know if you can see the colors, but they're different color bases, which are really fun. You can even use like wine bottles. So that's our second piece. We're going to put it together at the end. So now we can do this one with one of my favorite flowers, which are peonies. I'm very season right now. On this one, I'm going to create a bouquet in my hand and then just wrap it in the vase as like a mini bouquet.
Okay.
My house smells really good, by the way, because of the flowers.
I couldn't imagine.
Okay, so as you can see, I'm creating a bouquet with all peonies, which are going to open really big by tomorrow. And these are flowers that you can probably get at your local market and arrange something beautiful yourself at home. So now you have a bouquet, and since I have this size container, I'm going to cut it and just wrap it in. Now we have our third piece. So what do I have left? Okay, so I have Veronicas, which are really fun. They're in color purple. So cut them and put them on each vase. And I'm trying to keep the color coordination. I have like a beautiful blush pink. This is more of a peach pink color, lavender. So it kind of all goes together. So now we have all these 4 pieces or 5. And what I have left is this other beautiful texture. It's called trichonium. We're going to cut it in proportion to the base. Actually, I'm going to use this other base. I think it will be and look better here. That's that. And I do have some rosemary. So I'm gonna drop that in this, clean the stems a little bit. You can drop that in here. It's fresh rosemary from the market. So now you added a little green to it. Okay, so now, I hope you can see this Since we have different heights, we're gonna create a tablescape. So let's see, so we'll do the tallest one in the middle. Peonies over here. Maybe the roses on this side. Add this here, and since we have 2 of these, maybe I did too many, so if we can use those in a different area in your house, but that would be a table setting.
Oh, it looks so pretty.
I know. And if you want to add candles, you just add some votives. These are candles. It makes some atmosphere with the candles.
Oh, it just looks lovely.
And there you go. Wonderful. All right, now I have a table setting. I should have a dinner party.
You really should. It makes me want to go buy some flowers. And
I know, right? And now that you saw how I put it together, it's so simple. And you can create an atmosphere at your house. I love to have flowers at my house, and I don't always do, even though I work with flowers all the time, but I don't get to do this all the time at home.
Well, thank you for sharing with us how you create such exciting and awe-inspiring floral pieces, and I hope that the participants are encouraged to go make their own arrangement and have a little excitement in their lives. And yeah, I just want to thank you for being here so much. And this is our last day of Mindshift Mondays. So
wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome, Suhei. That is all. Thank you so much for coming, everybody. Again, if you want to connect with Suhei, please do so.
Thanks, Suhei and Teresa. I hope all of you enjoyed our final art workshop. If you'd like to watch our educational workshops again, visit aashna.com on YouTube, inifoundation.org, and gmmaca.org. Connect with Suhei at Suhei Petals, and if you'd like to connect with Dr. Randy Sharlock, visit fieldtriphealth.com or follow him on Instagram at rsharlock. We truly appreciate your support for National Mental Health Awareness Month by participating in our workshops. Please check out the Gray Matter Museum at gmmaca.org and follow them on Instagram at gray_matter_museum. And find out more about the Institute of Neuroinnovation at inifoundation.org and follow them on Instagram at inifoundation. I'm Aashna, and thanks for watching Mindshift Mondays.